You're taking a look inside Kansas politics. Welcome in. I'm Rebecca Chung in for Denisha Richard. The first week of legislative session has finally come to an end, and here to break down all of the key takeaways from this week is political analyst Bob Beatty. Bob, thank you for joining us.
Yeah, it's great to be here.
Well, let's start with the Republican legislative agenda. This was released on the second day of session. So GOP leaders are already letting us know their goals pretty early on. Still, these aren't concrete plans. They couldn't answer questions on specific legislation. So why do you think we're seeing Republicans bring forward this plan so early in this year's session?
Well, a lot of viewers may have heard the term that lawmaking is like sausage making, which maybe isn't so pleasant, but there's some truth to it, because think about, getting the flavors of the sausage, but you don't yet have the ingredients. And so that's what the Republicans are doing. They're putting forward their goals, but they don't quite yet know how they're going to put together the coalitions that will get their bills passed, and even what may be specifically in those bills. And that's what a legislative session is all about. It's putting together those coalitions to pass some laws.
Now, in this plan, there's also a section where Republicans pledge their support to protect abortion limits that are already in the state. Now, we have a clip with Senate President Ty Masterson from the press conference where they introduced the plan. Masterson says they also plan to reduce abortions by supporting pregnancy centers. He explains what that means.
Yeah, we would certainly like to promote adoption, pregnancy crisis centers, and talk about, life after birth as well. But we have issues with the Hodes decision, as you've seen. And by the way, a lot of prognostication has happened around the value of them both. There were people who voted against that because it wasn't an all-out ban. We really don't know what the status is in Kansas. But what we're looking at is protecting those, what they even called in those debates, common sense restrictions. The most radical view of abortion right now is actually the Democratic Party view of unregulated abortion up to, and in some cases you see around the country, after birth. That is the most radical view of abortion there is. And with Hodes in place, we have the potential of that. All of our common sense restrictions are under attack.
Now, this is the first time we're seeing the abortion issue brought up in this year's session. That's after the majority of Kansas voters voted to uphold abortion rights in last year's primary. So why do you think Republicans are bringing this issue back up?
Wow, the abortion issue is, the most controversial, and the nation got a shock when Kansans, by almost a 20-point margin, voted no on the amendment. Now, keep in mind that that abortion amendment would have put all abortion-related issues into the legislative hands. So here we hear legislators saying, hey, we want to really work on abortion, and there's an argument to be made that's exactly what the voters did not want. But, this is a democracy, so we'll see how it all works out. But what we do know from the amendment and from the exit polls from the November election is that Kansans support a right to an abortion, and Kansans support a right to an abortion when it threatens the health of the mother. And so that's important just to keep in mind. I think to answer your question, Rebecca, you said why are the Republicans bringing this up? First of all, this is a key Republican Party issue. It has been for years. It will continue to be so. The second thing, I think Republicans are still trying to figure out what to do after that abortion amendment vote. That was one of the biggest shockers, repeating myself, not just in Kansas history, but in recent American history. And so the Republicans are introducing possibly will introduce a number of different issues regarding abortion. On the other hand, Rebecca, I think the governor is sitting there ready to veto them. I think the key question will be whether the Republicans can muster a 2/3 majority to override the governor's veto if she does veto them.
Now, Masterson said there's a host of things that lawmakers can do when it comes to this issue. What power do lawmakers actually have, though, when it comes to abortion?
Well, there's a Republican supermajority. The Republicans, of course, also hold the Senate. They can pass a bill. I think they could pass a number of things. And one that might get passed that could be interesting is what was mentioned, which is funding crisis pregnancy centers. And maybe that one will get passed, and many people might, get on board with that. But there's other ones like the telemedicine abortion pill ban, or where doctors can't advise about in telemedicine about the abortion pill, maybe restricting abortions to 15 weeks instead of the current 22 weeks. I think the governor would veto those, and again, we'll just have to see if the Republicans could get a 2/3 majority to override those vetoes.
Now, the governor also weighed in on the abortion issue late last year. She said she fully expects an abortion rights debate this session, and we have a clip from that interview with her in December.
I can't think of one where that issue did not come up for at least discussion, if not debate and vote. So I fully expect that this 19th session will be no different than the last 18.
Now, how far will the abortion debate go this year? Will any bills related to this issue make it to the floor, do you think?
You know, that's a key question. And I think what Republicans will be doing will be new, because we've seen this every session, abortion bills, but that was before the end of Roe v. Wade, and that was before the big abortion amendment vote in Kansas. So this is new territory. What's possible is if some bills are passed and they're seen as sort of trampling on the will of the people because of that amendment vote, you may see some pushback from people against that. Or we may see that people, oh, well, it's still in the Constitution, you know, what the legislature does doesn't matter as much. Now, we have to keep in mind, there are currently in the Kansas law 10 different restrictions on abortion under Kansas law. So we heard that comment, some people want unregulated abortion. There's already a number of restrictions on abortion in the state of Kansas, including no abortions after 22 weeks. Except in extreme circumstances for the mother. So if I had to bet, Rebecca, I'd say there may be one or two that some people would call extreme that do get passed. And again, I would bet quite a bit of money that Governor Kelly would veto them.
Thank you, Bob. And coming up, we'll be breaking down more of the Republican legislative agenda for 2023, including plans to defeat wokeism. We'll be right back.
Why should you choose Renewal by Andersen replacement windows? A variety of beautiful colors, a wide selection of hardware, and many window styles are just a few of the reasons to consider Renewal by Andersen.
At Andersen, everything we do is custom. You know, Andersen is big on innovation, it's big on technology.
I believe we have the best product in the industry. People expect the best, right? So if you want something that's going to last a long time, you're going to look at what's best, maybe not what's the cheapest. And our customers know that going in, I believe, and they expect that, and we provide that.
Renewal by Andersen focuses on value, which means high quality for a fair price.
For a limited time only, buy 5 windows, save $1,500. Buy 9 windows, save $3,000, or choose 2.99% financing.
Choose energy efficiency, choose durability, choose Renewal by Andersen.
Customer service for your hearing health is imperative. Rehabilitation, annual exams, required time, and a local clinic that listens. Call New Sound because we care for all of your hearing concerns.
K-State, KU, all sports. K-Nation, Sunday nights at 10:30 on 27 KSNT. Sponsored by K-State Superstore and 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline.
Super Wild Card Weekend is here.
Here we go.
Where everything is on the line and anything can happen. Ravens, Bengals, tonight on NBC and streaming on Peacock.
Welcome back. I'm Rebecca Chung, and we're here with political analyst Bob Beatty, talking about the new plan from GOP leaders in the House and Senate. Now, Bob, another part of the plan includes defeating wokeism, as we mentioned earlier. We actually have a video where they talk about the part of the plan and what that means.
It's our future, it's your future, and that's our commitment to students and not legacy systems. And we've seen that a lot we've exposed in COVID of some of the difficulties we have with the system we have in place. And then you add to that some of just the kind of the sexualized woke agenda that's permeating that system. Parents need choices. Kids need choices. And so we are looking for opportunities to work with this administration. We hope to find her in the middle somewhere, right, and actually have real choices for parents and students, because that is what our primary focus is the actual student.
Now, based on what they're saying, what sort of legislation do you think that we could see come up this year?
This is really interesting because there was some debate at the press conference and in other places as to what wokeism really means. And don't put me on the spot either. I think it's a political term, meaning that it can mean what people want it to mean. But in the context of what we just saw, it's sounding like it means possible legislation involving schools. And so if that's the case, what we're talking about is this so-called Bill of Rights for parents, in which parents in Kansas in some form or another would have more rights to challenge curriculum, would have more rights to speak to teachers or challenge teachers about what they're teaching. In some cases, almost maybe approve or disapprove of curriculum, and also activities regarding a school activity. So what's interesting about this whole concept is that Kansas, of course, has school boards. School boards are elected. And so for many people are arguing that's the role of school boards. And then if parents are upset with their school board, well, you throw the bums out. Yeah, I'm joking. But you don't elect that school board in the next election. And that's called federalism. It's different levels of power, different areas of government. But right now, it sounds like the Republicans in the legislature don't have a lot of faith in federalism. They don't have a lot of faith in the elected school boards, that they're listening to the parents. So some of these parents are going to legislators and saying, we want state laws. It would essentially override school boards. We'll see what comes out of that, and we'll see if there's a struggle between what school boards may want to do versus what a state law may force them to do.
Now, transgender athletes participating in women and girls sports has also been an issue that the Republican Party has pushed here in Kansas. So they've tried to pass a bill banning transgender athletes from women and girls sports. In the past, the governor has vetoed that legislation, but last year she came out with a political ad during the campaign season, if you remember that. So now some Republicans are hoping her stance has changed. I spoke with Attorney General Chris Kobach last year about how he plans to work with the governor, and he also mentioned this legislation. Here's what he had to say.
The governor said in her advertisements that she's not for permitting, I think she used the term men, to participate in girls' sports. I assume she meant biological males.
Let me just say it. Of course men should not play girls' sports.
If she's now come around on that issue, because she did veto that bill prior to the election, we'd be happy to work with her. That's one of those issues that has a lot of legal angles to it.
Now, some Democrats have said they believe the governor's stance on this bill has not changed based on her remarks in the ad. What are your thoughts on that? Is this an issue that we could see come up again this year?
Oh, it certainly sounds like it'll come up again. And I don't want to speak for Governor Kelly, but I did see an interview where she said, quote, "We'll definitely be disagreeing on the school cultural issues," unquote. And I think that's one of the issues she's going to stand pretty firm on, which is the transgender issue. Now, there's a couple areas regarding the transgender issue. One is what we're discussing, which is whether high school athletes can have to compete at the gender of their birth. And I think that's the legislation we're going to see, Rebecca. And I think it really depends on the wording, but that's likely to be vetoed by Governor Kelly. And Rebecca, there's also a possible bill that will come out that will ban gender change surgery for anybody before the age of 21. So look for that one too. I have no idea if the governor would veto that one, but remember, she got reelected, and it wasn't by 50 votes or 200 votes like the Arizona Secretary of State. It was by a couple percentage points, and it was close, but not this incredibly close thing. So she feels pretty confident that the voters were behind her on some of these things, especially since Derek Schmidt and the Republicans, that was a key point of their campaign, and they didn't win. So I have a feeling that some of the things she vetoed last session, she might veto again.
Okay, well, up next, we're taking a look at the governor's goals for this year and where lawmakers can meet in the middle. That's coming up.
We got big news, right, Ruggles? The puppies are here. They're everywhere. So are our red tags. The Floor Project's red tag sale is going on now. Red Tag savings on carpet, including Mohawk Smart Strand, hardwood, luxury vinyl, plus installation is half price on our best-selling waterproof floors. Free financing too, and save more with the Red Tags.
Get into the floor project.
They're quick learners. Smart savings starts here.
At Vanderbilt's, we are celebrating the new year with incredible savings store-wide. Check out our huge selection of Hey Dudes, thousands in stock. Keep your feet warm with dry-shod Waymore neoprene boots, $88.88. Men's 5-pocket blue jeans starting at $11.99. Burn outerwear sale extended. Save $10 on men's and ladies' insulated coats and bibs.
Work Boot Center, Vanderbilt.
We all learned something very important during the pandemic. We learned just how connected we are, that we need each other, that we are strongest when we work together, live together, hope together. And we learned that we need each other to be healthy. Vaccines, including the COVID vaccine, are an essential way to ensure that we all stay healthy for our own good and for the good of our families and communities. Call 785-861-8800 today for your vaccination appointment with Grace Med, the home of hope care for everyone.
42 million Americans struggle with hunger, yet 35% of the food in America is wasted. The Kroger Company's Zero Hunger, Zero Waste Foundation is working to create communities free of hunger and waste. Together, we can help end hunger. Learn more at zerohungerzerowastefoundation.org.
Some say e-cigarettes aren't dangerous,
but science shows nicotine can harm teens' developing brains.
no matter how they're exposed.
Let's do an experiment to find out.
Here's a teen who won't be using e-cigarettes.
Now we need one willing to risk their brain development.
Anyone care to volunteer your kid?
Anyone?
Your kids are not an experiment. Protect them from e-cigarettes.
The Storm Track WeatherCam Network on 27 News. More cameras covering your community, providing a live, exclusive look at weather as it rolls across northeast Kansas.
We're watching the storms building in from the south and southwest.
Working for you to provide advance warning of changing conditions. The Storm Track WeatherCam Network. Available live to you anytime, online and on the 27 News mobile app. Sponsored by Prairie Band Casino and Resort. Join our conversation on Facebook.
And we're back. Welcome in. You're watching Inside Kansas Politics. I'm Rebecca Chung here with political analyst Bob Beatty. We're now shifting to Kansas Governor Laura Kelly's goals for this legislative session. And Bob, we know one of the governor's goals includes bipartisanship. So the governor expressed this in her first speech after being sworn in. We have part of that speech now. Here's what she had to say.
We recruited businesses from around the world, including the largest economic development project in the history of the state of Kansas. That happened because Democrats and Republicans forged a deal. We got our state back on track, and we did it by working together as one Kansas.
Now, the governor also released her Axing Your Taxes plan last year in December. This includes immediately getting rid of the food sales tax. That seems like something that GOP members in the Senate are also working on. So they seem to be on the same page when it comes to the food tax, at least. What issues do you think Kelly and Republican leaders will agree on, and what areas will they butt heads?
Okay, agree on. Let's talk about taxes. And first of all, Kansas has a $2.4 billion, or will have soon, surplus. That's $2.4 billion. And so there's some money there. There can be some tax cuts. And the question is, will it be the governor's plans or the Republican plans? And here's a wild thought. Maybe a mixture of both, that middle of the road, that compromise. So that's really going to be interesting to see if there's some compromises. So what kind of tax cuts? Well, possibly getting rid of the food sales tax cut earlier, having a school tax holiday, and the governor also would like to see Social Security state taxes lessened, Now that third one, Social Security state tax lessons, is one the Republicans have been talking about. And so I could very easily see that one happen. And we may also see some bargaining because the Republicans are interested in something like a flat tax rate for the state tax, maybe cutting some state or corporate tax rates and some property tax reform. So can the governor and the Republicans get together and maybe each get a little bit of what they want? I think it's possible. So we may see a little of both, the governor and Republicans, their ideas mixed into maybe a fairly complicated tax bill.
Now, on the issue of marijuana, Kelly has said that this is an issue that's very important, but Republican Senate President Ty Masterson has said that it's not a legislative priority in the past. So this issue was also missing from the Republican legislative goals that they released. Meanwhile, there's a medical marijuana bill that lawmakers on both sides of the aisle have been working on in the interim. How far will this bill get this year?
Okay, I'm going to be, maybe nuts, but I'm going to say I think it's going to pass. It just seems like it's been building and building for years. And I looked it up. 4 years ago, the election poll in the 2018 election asked if voters in Kansas supported marijuana legalization, and 62% said yes. And the most recent election, 2022, the same question was asked, and 62% said yes. So I joke around and say, gosh, I wonder if Kansans would like to see marijuana legalized. The answer is yes. So it looks like Ty Masterson's not a big fan, but it looks like there's enough momentum for something to be passed. Another consideration is this really shouldn't be bogged down too much in the details when over 35 other states have legalized medical marijuana, and it's working pretty well in some states. Pick up the phone, give them a call, ask them some of the details. I think this is something that get worked out if there's a little momentum that builds up during the session.
Okay, and after the break, we'll tell you what to expect from one of the biggest speeches of the year. We'll be right back.
Mental health is about emotional health and brain health.
Healthy children and families, and a healthy Kansas.
Go to acmhck.org to find your local community mental health center.
I wanted to have something to remember my uncle by. It made me feel good that a creative mind like Calhoun's could interpret what I wanted. When I first saw it and put it on my hand, it was kind of overwhelming that this is real. And I could almost hear my uncle say, "That looks good, my little girl."
Calhoun's means custom. Located at 1801 Gage Boulevard. Visit calhoun'sjewelers.com.
Doughboys Pizzeria, now with 2 locations in Topeka. Serving fresh pizza with our signature sauce, award-winning wings, awesome appetizers and desserts. With outdoor dining and entertainment. Call or order online at doughboys.pizza.
It's time to update your kitchen with Countercraft. Bring your ideas and your measurements or we can measure for you. We have quartz, granite, and quartzite on site to choose from. Let our team show you how easy the process is from start to finish. Countercraft is where craftsmanship matters.
Flexitarian is what Gelman is, which is he eats everything in a yoga position.
Next live, Nathan Fillion and Heidi Gardner.
Monday morning at 11 on 27 KSNT.
Cedric the Entertainer from the neighborhood. What kind of neighborhood did you grow up in?
To have fun, we would throw rocks at each other. Oh, you almost got me.
You're supposed to play dodgeball with an actual, dodgeball.
Monday at 1 on 27 KSNT.
Should juvenile lawbreakers be locked up?
I don't believe in detention.
He runs over a cop.
I don't care about the law.
We've got to protect the community and the child from self-destructing. Next, Dr. Phil.
Monday at 3 on 27 KSNT.
It's showtime!
Too much for me to handle. It's so good.
Weekdays at 11 on 27 KSNT. The Storm Track WeatherCam Network on 27 News. More cameras covering your community. Providing a live, exclusive look at weather as it rolls across northeast Kansas.
We're watching the storms building in from the south and southwest.
Working for you to provide advance warning of changing conditions. The StormTrack WeatherCam Network. Available live to you anytime, online, and on the 27 News mobile app. Sponsored by Prairie Band Casino and Resort.
Some say e-cigarettes aren't dangerous,
But science shows nicotine can harm teens' developing brains.
no matter how they're exposed.
Let's do an experiment to find out.
Here's a teen who won't be using e-cigarettes.
Now we need one willing to risk their brain development.
Anyone care to volunteer your kid?
Anyone?
Your kids are not an experiment. Protect them from e-cigarettes.
And welcome back to Inside Kansas Politics. I'm Rebecca Chung here with political analyst Bob Beatty. Bob, let's talk about the State of the State address. It's been moved to January 24th. This is where the governor will flesh out her plans for the future of the state. What are some key things that we can expect?
Yeah, it's interesting. Of course, the State of the State got delayed because the governor got COVID, and makes it interesting to have a State of the State that this late into the session. But what I think the governor will be doing will be staking out where she stands on a number of key issues, and there's a couple of things we haven't talked about. She'll be talking about Medicaid expansion. Not so sure that has much chance of getting passed, but she's certainly going to call for it. And that'll be a case, Rebecca, where all the Democrats will stand up and cheer wildly, and most of the Republicans will sit on their hands. She'll also talk about supporting early childhood programs in the state of Kansas, including her desire to form a new cabinet agency. And I don't know how that'll go over with the Republicans. We'll just have to see. But I think one of the keys we're going to hear about a lot is tax cuts and what to do on the tax issue. She's going to really strongly call for the end of the food sales tax and to cut taxes on feminine hygiene products and diapers. And then she's going to really lay out where she stands on that. And then the Republicans are going to respond with their tax proposals, which may include a flat tax. And that's where the bargaining will begin. And that's government and the lawmaking. But the State of the State is a chance for the governor to stake out, plant her flag, and show here's where I stand. And then let's hear from you now, Republicans, after she's done.
Well, thank you, Bob, for breaking that down for us. And that was your look inside Kansas politics. If you want to keep up to date with all the latest political news, then follow us on social media. Follow us on Twitter at InKansasPolitics. We'll also post to the full video on YouTube. Just search KSNT News and check ksnt.com/inside-kansas-politics for past episodes. If you have a story you want Kansas state legislators to hear, let us know. We will see you here same time, same place next week.